My fellow New Yorkers, this is a city built on innovation and technology, a place where we celebrate progress and look to the future. But even as we have created jobs, opportunity, and prosperity with new technology, there have been unforeseen consequences and new dangers, especially when it comes to social media's effect on the mental health of our young people. Over the past decade, we have seen just how addictive and overwhelming the online world can be, exposing children to content they are not ready for, disrupting the educational process, and seriously damaging their self-esteem and well-being. Our most recent data found that young people in New York City are experiencing anxiety, hopelessness, and even attempted suicide at rates we have never seen before. And there is growing evidence that the power of social media is a major cause. This is a serious problem that must be addressed now. That is why earlier this morning, our administration filed a lawsuit against the companies that own 5 major social media platforms: TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, and YouTube. As we announced last month in the State of the City address, we must take action to protect our children from harm online, including the growing dangers presented by social media. Together, the New York City Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, New York City Health and Hospitals, and the New York City Department of Education, we are filing litigation today demanding that companies be held accountable for their platforms' damaging influence on the mental health of our young people. And we're seeking to recover the cost of addressing this ongoing public health threat as well. Parents everywhere can see for themselves that their children are spending too much time online. New York City teens spend an average of 3 hours or more per day in front of screens, not including time spent on schoolwork, much of it focused on the endless stream of social media that has been designed with one goal in mind: keeping the user engaged for as long as possible. Adults find it hard enough to moderate the use of social media, but it's even more difficult for our young people. We know these platforms are designed with addictive and dangerous features that take advantage of a child's natural interest in novelty and play. The social on these platforms, the likes, the trophies, the streaks, are designed to manipulate a dopamine release in the brain. And children lack the maturity and impulse control to continually regulate their use. Instead of talking to each other over lunch at the cafeteria, they're absorbed in their screens. Instead of playing at the park with friends, they are inside on a sunny day clicking and scrolling. And instead of learning confidence and resilience, they are being exposed to content that often leads to insecurity and depression. The feature that keep young people clicking in these dark corners of social media have fueled an alarming rise in online bullying, depression, eating disorders, and suicidal ideation. Social media can damage self-esteem, promote addiction, and often encourages reckless behavior like subway surfing and car theft challenges. We have also seen a dangerous rise in misinformation, xenophobia, radicalization, and incitement to hateful acts, and even young people astonishingly declaring that Osama bin Laden was right as they rack up likes online. Instead of connecting people to one another, our social media companies initially promised their platforms to often tear us apart. These companies are well aware that negative, frightening, and outrageous content generates continued engagement and greater revenue. Children who start watching an online video for a school assignment often find that algorithms keep playing other videos, potentially taking them down a rabbit hole that is inappropriate, hateful, and even dangerous, a place that never even meant to go. There is, of course, a great deal of education and positive content out there too. But there is also a 24/7 digital dystopia that even very young children can easily access without parents or caregivers ever being aware. The harm from social media is particularly critical in our schools, where students' addictive social media use is disrupting the learning environment on a daily basis. Teachers are burned out from dealing with students' phones use and the fallout from online bullying, leading to lost instructional time and low morale. That is why New York City is joining hundreds of school districts from across the country in filing this litigation to protect our children. Measuring the true impact of social media is difficult because companies often limit access to their data. But Frances Haugen, a whistleblower who went public with her experiences working at Facebook, said that the company had internal findings that showed that 32% of teen girls said that they felt bad about their bodies, and Instagram even made them feel worse. Internal TikTok documents reveal that more than 20% of children are active on the platform between midnight and 5 a.m. when they should be sleeping. In recent years, there was a 40% increase in high school students reporting persistent sadness and hopelessness. Emergency room visits for anxiety disorders are up 117%. And nationwide, suicidal rates for youth are up an alarming 57%. These are not just numbers. These are our children. And this is not a reality we can accept or normalize. We're facing a serious youth mental health crisis. And it is up to us as parents, as city, and as a society to take action, not just to improve academics or build social skills, but to save lives. Because if we don't stand up to powerful companies on behalf of our young people, who will? These companies must change their behavior and their business practices and join us in building a better society for all. We know our tech community can and must be part of the solution. But the path forward starts with a firm commitment to prioritizing the health of the many over the profits of a few. We came into office 2 years ago with a clear mission to protect public safety, and public safety includes protecting the mental health of our young people. We do all we can to keep our children safe from gun violence, drugs, and climate change, and make sure they have access to education, health care, and all the services that they need. Now, we must support families fighting the harmful effects of unregulated social media. Just as we protect them from air pollution and other environmental dangers, that is why Dr. Vassan issued a health commissioner's advisory last month, declaring social media a public health hazard, and why we are filing this lawsuit today. New York is the first major American city to take combined steps of this magnitude and call out the danger of social media clearly and directly, just as the Surgeon General did with tobacco and guns. We are treating social media like other public health hazards. We're following up the advisory with this lawsuit to ensure that tech companies take responsibility for the impact of their products. Not only do we aim to hold TikTok, Meta, Snapchat, and YouTube accountable for their role in creating the youth mental health crisis in New York City by purposefully manipulating and addicting children and teens to social media applications, but we seek to hold them financially responsible for what they cost our city year after year. We spend over $100 million on youth mental health programs each year alone, even as these corporations reap billions of dollars of profit at the cost of young people's emotional, mental, and physical health. Young New Yorkers have told us about wanting to have a healthier relationship with social media and wanting to spend more time offline connecting with friends, but they need help. That is why today we're also releasing our social media action plan, which will help us chart a new course forward in several key areas. First, we are advocating for state and federal policymakers to put in place laws that require social media companies to ensure that their platforms are safe for youth mental health. Second, we will be providing media literacy and education to support our young people and families. This includes promoting tech-free zones to encourage young people to socialize in person. And finally, our action plan will study the long-term impacts of social media on our youth to understand how New York City can better address the harm caused by these platforms. Tech companies should agree to share their data with us and open their books to independent research as part of that effort. These companies have been a partner here in New York City, but friends need to be honest with one another. We know that some have begun working to tackle these issues. While we welcome those efforts, this entire industry must do far more. We must have enforceable and agreed upon standards, not a patchwork of voluntary fixes that ultimately shifts the burden right back to parents, teachers, and young people. Our children, our families, and our future are more important than that, and more important than profit. That is why we are taking bold actions on behalf of millions of New Yorkers, an important step in a larger reckoning that will shape the lives of our young people, our city, and society for years to come.